Hi guys, it's Dark Vinyl again, and today we are going to do a discography of Led Zeppelin, and I'm going to do just their studio albums, and I'm going to do a quick ranking at the end too, so it should be fun. Now, Led Zeppelin is one of those bands I kind of held off for a while. I mean, I know it's a lot of people's favorite bands, and a lot of these albums people have very personal connections with, whatever their first album that they loved or what have you. So again, this is completely subjective on my ranking. I'm going to first do chronological and background on the band and then do the ranking. I think it's important that people, make some stuff in the comments. And again, a lot of these can be had at Max J Records, so cool. I'm going to talk about certain pressings and stuff like that and go right through. And this is all the vinyl, and most of these are first pressings, original US pressings of what you would have received back in 69, 70, 71 when Led Zeppelin appeared. They're kind of like the Beatles in some ways, and discography is a little different, of course, but with that whole aspect of, wow, Led Zeppelin. Well, let's talk a little bit about the band, okay? Everyone knows the band members. Jimmy Page, who of course was one of the more prolific when the band was formed, was in a band called the Yardbirds, which I'm sure you're familiar with. He had played with Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton, which both were in the Yardbirds too. So he had kind of a very blues background. John Paul Jones, another older player, had been with a couple of other blues bands in England in the late 60s. Robert Plant was a relatively young and new vocalist, and John Bonham was a very vibrant and influential drummer at the time. He's kind of in that Ginger Baker school of drums, Mitch Mitchell's, what have you, very big, powerful in your face. So they all meet in 68 and they form a band, and at first they were going to call themselves the New Yardbirds because Jimmy Page had been one of the last surviving members of that particular incarnation of the band. But they didn't really want to do that because it wasn't really an extension. They wanted a new and different sound, so they came up with the name Led Zeppelin in 1969. And again, the rest is history. And of course, the band, again, putting together with Jimmy Page's amazing guitar work and what have you. So really good stuff. Well-trod, one of the biggest bands in the 70s. Laden with hits, pretty much most of their albums until we get to the last album, Coda, which was kind of an afterthought. I'll talk about that. But generally speaking, I mean, Led Zeppelin really on the iconic landscape of rock and roll music. Basically blues driven, and especially their first album, which I'll talk about real quick in a second. A lot of it's blues covers, actually, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's get into Led Zeppelin. Now, one of the things I like to do about Led Zeppelin is a lot of people don't realize how old some of these albums are because the music is still fresh. It's really very, very live and well in the popular culture today. So it's important that we talk a little about that. Now, the first album was released in 1969, early 69. It's called Led Zeppelin 1. And, of course, got Led Zeppelin on it and what have you. And this, of course, was to introduce to the world John Bonham, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and Jimmy Page, who had been with the Yardbirds. Now, this album has some great stuff on it. It opens up with Good Times, Bad Times, which is kind of an original by Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones and Bonham. Excellent. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, which is a blues cover. You Shook Me, which is, again, another blues cover. Very well done. Dazed and Confused, which was another song originally done by Jeff Beck a year earlier. Again, another kind of incarnation of a blues cover. Side 2, Your Time Is Gonna Come, which is by Page. And then Black Mountain Side, which was a Jimmy Page kind of guitar piece, really nice. Communication Breakdown, one of my favorite pieces on this. Again, another original. I Can't Quit You, Babe, which is another blues cover. And How Many More Times, again, that was a remake of a blues. Again, a lot of covers on this, but that was very standard for the time. So very good, excellent effort. Really a great breakout album, and of course I cover that in Debut Albums, one of the better ones. Now they follow up in late 69, which the sessions were all recorded together, so they had enough for 2 albums. So the second album comes out in late 69. Of course, it was even more impressive with Led Zeppelin 2, which I covered. This album, just amazing. This has a lot more original stuff on it. This opens up with A Whole Lot of Love, which we know, and What Is and What Should Never Be, one of my favorite songs on this album. The Lemon Song and Thank You, really great side there. Side 2 is Heartbreaker and Live and Let Made, which go together. Ramble On, Moby Dick, and Bring It On Home. This really shows a little bit more maturity from the first album. You can tell that the sessions were recorded together. So what they decided, obviously the record label decided what they were going to do. So great album. Now that leads us to their third album, one of my favorites, but a lot of people don't, and that's Led Zeppelin 3, which was released in 1970. Really cool album. This one's got the original little wheel that goes with it. As you can see, you can move it right there. That's so kind of cool. This album is really, really good. This institutes a lot of blues covers. This has the Immigrant Song on side 1, which of course is really big, and of course was made big in the Thor movie a couple of years ago. This has got Friends, Celebration Day, Since I've Been Loving You, Out of the Tiles. A lot of these are blues covers and remakes, which is pretty cool. Side 2 is with all blues stuff there. We have Gallows Pole, Tangerine, That's the Way, and Byron and the Byron Your Stomp, which is good, and that's on Tough Crow Added, these are all really, really good songs. I really can't say enough about this album. This album's really a bluesy album. A lot of people don't like it because it doesn't really yield the hits that the other albums do, but this is a transitional album, which of course leads to 1971 release of one of their mega albums, and of course I'm talking about Led Zeppelin 4. Led Zeppelin 4 is on the list of a lot of people's favorite albums. This album, need not to say much about it. I mean, everyone knows about this. This is just the great album. I mean, this has all the big hits on it, as you can see. I mean, you really can't. I mean, as you look through this, I mean, it opens up with Black Dog and Rock and Roll, which are very, very big, very transitional songs, very more unique style of Led Zeppelin, that in-your-face, bluesy rock, hard rock sound. The Battle of Evermore, which amazing guitar work on that, and the introduction, and of course the last song in side 1, Stairway to Heaven, which of course is probably one of the most iconic ballad landscape songs, and probably one of the most well-known songs in rock and roll. Side 2 is Misty Mountain Hop, Four Sticks, Going to California, and When the Levee Breaks. When the Levee Breaks has that drums. Just amazing. Great stuff. Led Zeppelin 4 really is the album that really put them on top. This made them the super band. After this album, there was no, I mean, between this and 1, 2, and 4, 3 not as much, but they were just so big as great albums. Now, the next album that comes out in 1972 is one of my personal favorites, and it's Houses of the Holy. Houses of the Holy really shows the maturity of the band, I think, and it really shows them at their best, I think. It opens up with Song Remains the Same, which I'm going to drop the needle on right now as we speak, because that's really one of my favorite songs. And again, just an amazing song. Oh, hold on. I'm back. Try to get that. I mean, right here. That. All right, I'll put it in the background. Keep talking. To me, that is really the whole maturity of Led Zeppelin, what they represent. I love this song with the changes and all the different elements to it. One of my favorite songs by them. Just an amazing song. And this album is chock full of original material and really good stuff. And it opens up with the Song Remains the Same, which I just played. And then the Rain song, really good. Over the Hills and Far Away, amazing acoustic guitar, and then switch over to electric, amazing. And then, of course, the Crunge, which has that amazing drum beat. Side 2 has Dancing Days, very big song. Do You Make Her, really good. No Quarter, one of my favorites, and The Ocean. Again, this to me, sonic landscape, the integration of blues, rock, guitar, keyboards too, it's just to me one of their really, the maturity of the band at this highest level. And you could see now this is a band that's here to stay, an amazing album. Alright? Then that leads to, of course, what they had to do, what every band in the 70s had to do, is do a double album. And of course that leads to the release of Physical Graffiti. And now, of course, Physical Graffiti, need to say more. This just has tons and tons of stuff on it. It's just a very good album, doubled up with lots of big songs on it. And again, Physical Graffiti is considered by a lot to be their best album. Not much to say about this album because it's just really big. It's a double album. People just really was at the pinnacle, the top end of Led Zeppelin was Physical Graffiti. And everybody was very raving about this album. And the songs, I don't even have to go through the track listing because they're just so good and everyone knows them. So, amazing. Now, a little bit later on, that leads into a later album, which comes out in, let me get my glasses on here. I can remember the date on this one. I think it's 1970. Let me see that. Sorry, getting old here. I gotta get my glasses on. 1976, yeah. And of course, I'm talking about Presence. And Presence is a good album. It's a follow-up to Physical Graffiti. It's got some great songs on it, but it's just not. It's not as strong. You can start seeing fissures in the band a little bit towards the end here, and some of the elements are going on, but it's still a tight band, still a great album. It's got some really good ballads on it, some really great music. A lot more keyboard work from John Paul Jones on this, and really good. Very good stuff. So, very important album. And that leads to the really last studio album before John Bonham's death, And of course, that's the release of what I was talking about. And that, of course, is Into the Outdoor. Into the Outdoor is really, really good. This is really the last album to really standardize the whole Led Zeppelin experience as we see it. And this one was released, Into the Outdoor was released in I mean, they really keep it a secret around here as they add these dates without me hitting the internet. And I think this one was 1978. And Into the Outdoor, really one of the later albums. Again, not much to be said there. In the Evening, Southbound Starbreeze, Fool in the Rain, which is really one of the big songs. Hot Dog, really good. Great guitar work on this. And then side 2 is Carousel Alhambra. And then All My Love, of course, a great ballad with the keyboard intro, and I'm Gonna Crawl. Very good album. John Bonham dies soon after the release of this album. Again, this is a really, really good, I guess you could call it a swan song. I know I don't want to put that out there for Led Zeppelin, but a very, very good album. I've always liked Into the Outdoor. A lot of people don't. It's, you know, not put up there as one of the best because it's one of the last albums. And again, what can I say about Into the Outdoor? Just really one of their just, you know, good solid effort. In some ways, I think it's better than Presence, but a lot of people like Presence better. But it's really a personal preference on that time. Obviously, we know that John Bonham's death, which I believe was in 1980, and then they release, this in 1982, which is Coda, which is kind of a bunch of outtakes, which has We're Gonna Groove, Poor Tom, I Can't Quit You Babe, which is a remake of the first song from the first album. Walter's Walk, side 2 is Ozone Baby, Darlene, Bonzo's Montreux, and Wearing and Tearing. And this is really a bunch of outtakes of stuff that had been previously recorded, and they decided that's why it's called Coda, getting the name here. Kind of the end of Led Zeppelin. This is the last album. This is really end of an era. A lot of people have mixed feelings on this album. A lot of people think it's just kind of like a bunch of X takes and just not really good. I think it's a decent album. It's not my favorite, obviously. It's not really a band album. It's just really a release of stuff that you know, that was previously released before, and they just never released it, previously recorded. So that's Led Zeppelin. A lot more could be said. We could sit there and talk about them ad nauseum all day long, but I don't have that much time, so I just wanted to kind of do a quick discography of their studio albums. That's all their studio albums, and now I'm going to do a quick ranking. Again, this is my subjectivity. Now, I hope there's a lot of comments in this one because, again, these are my personal favorites. So I'm going to go from last to best, like I always do. And I hope you guys, you know, take a peek at this. Write in the comments. Let me know what you think. And, again, a lot of these albums can be, a couple of these, actually, you saw the stickers on them. They are at Max J Records, so they are available in 180 grams. Most of these are first pressing. So now, let's talk about last to worst. Now, the last album, which is going to be pretty easy, the least favorite Led Zeppelin album is, of course, Coda. Most people agree with this. Some people don't even include it as a Led Zeppelin album, but it is. So I do include this as, it's a decent songs on it, but it's just really not a band album. It's just kind of like a post-mortem thing. So again, Coda. Now, the next album that I'm going to go together is, the next one, the rank up there is Presence. Presence is there's 8 albums, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's eight albums. This is number 7. Again, good album. It's not my favorite. I think, well, the next album that I'll go with will be different. Presence is good. It's got some great guitar work. It's really got some maturity of the band, but again, it shows the pressure from the studio companies, I think, a little bit to produce hits, because they had producing so many hits and so many songs, and they figured whatever Led Zeppelin can do no wrong. And it also shows the freshness of the band and the pressures of the music industry of that time period. All right, so that's number 8, 7. Number 6 is Into the Outdoor. Now, a lot of people don't like Into the Outdoor, but I do. I think it has a lot of good songs on it. I love the Fool in the Rain. I love some of the instrumentation. I love the inclusion of John Paul Jones's keyboard work. Very different album than the previous release, which I'll do as Physical Graffiti. But again, very good. So that's number 6. And now, this we're going to get into stuff that's going to be a little bit different. A lot of people are going to see the rankings a little bit different and not see it as... So my next one is, of course, Physical Graffiti. Now, Physical Graffiti, I know a lot of people love this album. It just doesn't rank as high with me. I like it. I like the songs on it. I like a couple of really good hits. I think it's a lot of material on the album. I think maybe there might have been X takes from other recordings. Excuse me. Again, not my favorite album. I do like it a lot. This is, of course, a 180 gram 40th anniversary from Great Britain. This is a release from John at Max J Records. Great release here for $39.99. 2 albums, not bad. I like it. But again, I don't rank it as high because of that. So I'm going to put it at number 5. number 6. Now, the next album that I'm going to come in now is a lot of people are going to be very, very surprised because I don't rank it as high, is Led Zeppelin 4. And the reason for Led Zeppelin 4 is, it's not that I don't like the songs, I know them all by ad nauseum, but the problem with Led Zeppelin 4 is I think it's been overplayed. It does have some amazing songs on, like Stairway to Heaven, but there's like a couple of songs like I Don't Need to Hear Rock and Roll Ever Again. And Black Dog I like, but like maybe once a year. Again, another overplayed song. This album really produced a lot of the hits, and it's really a victim of its own success in many ways. So, that's number 5. Now, number 4, I had to kind of go back and forth. I was like, Number 4, at any given day, this could be number 3 or 2, is Led Zeppelin 3. I really like this album. A lot of people don't. This album is one of the forgotten albums. I like it because of the blues. I like it because of the covers and the work they did, and I love the Immigrant Song. I just love it. It's just a raw album. It's early Led Zeppelin. It's just one of my favorites. Again, I really, I put it up there for number 4. But like I said, any given day, it could be either 3 or 2. Now we're getting into the top 3. And the top 3 are really, to me, our tough one. Number 3, it's pretty easy, is Led Zeppelin 2. I know, again, this makes the top list a lot of people, but I love this album. I do like it a lot. Again, it does have a little bit of the ringings of Led Zeppelin 4, where it is a victim of its own success. It tends to be overplayed, especially Heartbreaker and Live and Love Made. I like What Is What Should Never Be. I like some of the hidden tracks and Bring It On Home and Moby Dick are some of my favorites. A great album. Nevertheless, but number 3, I know a lot of you will not agree with this, so you're not going to agree with my number 1 track. And then number 2 is their first album, Led Zeppelin 1, which to me, it's just really great. It opens up with down out, good times, bad. It's just really, really good. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Dazed and Confused, I just love it. Just really, 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 really love it. To me, it's one of their, one of my favorites. Again, it's number 2. And I Can't Quit You, Babe. Now we're going to lead to number 1. And number 1 is pretty easy to me. There was never any doubt in my world. Number 1 album for me for Led Zeppelin is Houses of the Holy. To me, this is by far their best effort. I think it's the maturity of the band after their first 4 albums. It's just the incredible landscape of sound, the music, the introduction of all the band members, the use of vocals, the guitar changes, just the great, great songs on it. And this is one of those albums I can listen to over and over again. And again, it's not overplayed on the radio too, which I like. So, to recap, number 1, Houses of the Holy. Number 2, Led Zeppelin 1. Number 3, Led Zeppelin 2. Number 4, Led Zeppelin 3. Number 5, I know a lot of people aren't going to agree, Led Zeppelin 4. Number 6, Physical Graffiti. Number 7, Into the Outdoor. Number 8, Presence. And the last one, of course, Coda, which I don't even really consider, but just, I had to do it just to be a completionist. All right, so that's Led Zeppelin for you guys. And I'm glad that you guys were here to experience that. I hope you thought it was pretty good. Again, great stuff. A great band. I'd like to hear some comments on what you guys think. I know a lot of you aren't going to agree. Oh, Steve, that's just crazy. Dog Vinyl, that's crazy. That's not my favorite album. The best album is this one or that one. Physical Graffiti was their best effort. Again, it's opinions, and it's what you guys think. And that's what makes this all exciting and fun, because we're able to talk about the music and the band. Again, Led Zeppelin does elicit a lot of emotional response, and it is one of the top selling bands of all time. So, there you go. All right, guys, until next time, Dr. Vinyl, take it easy.